We are recording this so that you'll be able to watch it later. We'll send it out at the end of the week to everyone that's registered, and you'll be able to have a chance to review it if as needed, or pass it along to your people on your yearbook committee. Welcome to our Memory Book Working with Portraits live webinar. This afternoon we'll be focusing on organizing class portraits and creating class pages. The information I will be covering can be found in our Memory Book Manual under the Design and Creation tab, starting on page 150. This webinar will be approximately 30 minutes long. Once you get logged into your Memory Book Online account, you'll want to go here to Create and the Image Library. And when you send us your portraits or the link to your portraits, we will get them downloaded from your photographer, and then we will upload them, and then you'll be able to go in here and find them under portraits, and however you tell us you'd like them sorted, that will be how the folders are created for you. So if you want them by grade, then all the fifth grade would be together. If you wanted them by teacher, you need to designate that and make sure the spreadsheet has the teachers listed, and then we'll be able to upload those into the smaller teacher groups. Once we have those uploaded, there's a few things you'll want to do before you try to put them on a page. So, if you organize them and double check them before you go in and put them on a page, it makes the flowing process so much easier, and you're not going back and forth quite so much. To create a PDF proof or a kind of a proof sheet that you can send to your secretary or the teachers in the classes, they can go over these, and then they can mark maybe any corrections you need to have made to the student names, or maybe the students are in the wrong classes. We just use the information the photographer sends us, and sometimes they make a mistake and get them in the wrong class, or they spell their name incorrectly, or maybe they have a different name listed in maybe the formal papers at school, and the kids are actually called, a nickname or something else. But to see a proof or to create a PDF of each group, you'll click on a folder, and you'll click on this button up here. It says PDF Preview. Let me make my screen just a little bit bigger. You might be able to see that a little bit easier. So you'll click on a folder, click on the PDF, and then it opens in another tab. And then over here, you can download it or you can print it. And then, like I say, you can pass those out to your teachers or the secretary, whoever was maybe going to help you with the yearbook, or who would know all the students in the different classes. Okay, so we're going to say we've got our proof sheets all back, and I'm going to work with Mrs. Smith's kindergarten here. Let me reduce this just a little bit. And I'm looking through here, and I notice that I need to make a change to a name to Kayla Fields. In here, it's listed as Kyla. So we could do that two ways. We could correct it here in the image library, but I'm going to show you how you can also use the coverage report on how to change the name or look for duplicates. So we go to create, and here to coverage report. And this is like a spreadsheet of all the students in their folders, how they're uploaded. So I'm going to go ahead and sort these by kindergarteners. And if you go down the list here, I'm looking for Kyla Fields, and I see that it's here listed here. So I'm going to go ahead and change that name. And then I'll go back to the image library. And it may take a little bit for this to refresh. if you have a problem, if you make a change and the change isn't showing up when you're in here, if you go ahead and go to another folder and come back to it, usually the change is corrected at that time. But if you'll notice here, her name changed to Kayla Fields. Now I do have some duplicates here. I'm going to leave those in there for now because I want to show you when you put them on a page how you can come back and mark those. And I noticed here I've uploaded an extra picture of this little girl, and because she missed picture day, so we're going to pretend we went and we took her picture, and so we uploaded it, and now I'm going to show you how to tag her name to the image. If you'll notice here in the bottom left corner, there's a tag on all these other images. That means that the name is associated with the picture. And we got that information from the spreadsheet that was in with the images that were sent to us. So you click here on the little I where it says image details, and there's no name here, and we're going to go ahead and if you click inside the box, we're going to say create new person, and then we'll put in the first and the last name information that we have. Okay, she's still at the beginning, but I'm going to go to a different folder here, come back, and now she is back here in alphabetical order. So you would do that on all these images that you maybe need to correct the spelling. Maybe you have a student in the wrong class and they need to go in a different folder. All you do is click and drag them over to the other folder that they belong in. That folder will turn kind of that dark gray, and you'll know when you can let go, and it'll ask you, do you want to move one image to Martin Kindergarten? You'll click yes. So now that student's over there and not in this class. Okay, so we've done this. We've organized all of our kids on in all the folders. So now let's go to putting them on a page. We're going to go to the new page designer, and you'll go to the page that you want to put your students on, and you can navigate there left and right here with your sideways buttons. I'm going to put these kids on page 6. So what you want to do first is you'll either drag over one of the portrait templates that are already in the program, and you can see a little preview of them over here to the side. First, I probably should see how many kids are in this folder that we want to put on the page. There's 32 images, so I want to make sure I have enough image boxes for that many students. Okay, just click and drag your template over, and we'll need to make sure we have 32 boxes here. Think we'll be okay. So I'm going to save this for now. Now I'm going to click on the flow panel on the page. Now if you'll notice a flow panel, it'll have the dotted lines all around it. That means that those images are all connected. And then when we put the names over here, those are going to pop in on the side because all of our portraits are tagged with the correct names. When it's a flow panel, the little icon in the center of the box is like a silhouette, a head and shoulders. If it's a click and drag image, it'll have like a landscape symbol in the middle. So that's how you can tell the difference. Now, if you wanted to make any adjustments to this flow panel, you'll click on the flow panel, go up to the flow options and put this over to the side. And you can adjust the size of your portraits. And this isn't allowing me to make them any wider because we've got a margin here for the names. So if you made that a little bit smaller, you could probably increase. This is where you'll just kind of have to mess with a little bit to figure out exactly how you want it to be. And the height, you can make it taller because there isn't a margin on that. And it's not hitting the margin here in the safe print area. You can also make more room between the pictures if those margins um, aren't too tight. So what you would want to do probably is go through and create a class template on both sides, and then you could save it as a template and then just drag it over for each page you want to put a portrait. Um, you'll have a class page on. That just makes it a little bit quicker for you, so you're not changing everything and reinventing the wheel every time. Now, if you wanted to start from scratch, let's just delete this off of here. If you wanted to start from scratch with the flow panel, or say you used last year's page designs, then and you needed to replace the flow panel, you'll go here to the flow tab and you have the little thumbnails of the flow panels. If you uncheck automatic, it won't try to fill the whole page top to bottom, and it makes it a little bit easier to work with. And then you could always drag over a text box to use for a heading. So if you just wanted something kind of simple like this, that's how you would handle that. Okay, I'm going to increase the text size here, the font size. If you wanted to change the font, you can also go here and choose a different font for this flow panel. I'm going to go ahead and save that. And I have 36 positions for my students to go into. So when you're ready to flow the kids over, you'll go to the flow panel to the left. In the drop down, you'll choose which category they're in. I'm using Smith and Kindergarten. Here's the name format. I want it to be first and last. There's a couple other choices here if you'd rather have it last and first. It's telling me here I've got 32 images and I have 0 flowed, 32 remaining. I want to start on page 6 and I want to end on page 6. Now, if you had your class where it would flow over 2 pages, you'd have your flow panel over here too, and then you would actually say start on page 6 and stop on page 7. So I've got that already. I'm going to go down here and I'm going to click flow. And the kids all pop over there on the page with their name. Now, right off the bat, I see that my teacher is down here in with the group. Well, I actually wanted her to flow at the beginning, so I'm going to have to go in and make a change. And then here's that duplicate of this little boy. Sometimes you just miss those things when you're organizing them in the portrait section, but you can actually see here on the page, you'll like, oh, I don't want 2 of him. And that's a good thing to check for before you submit your pages, is to make sure there aren't any duplicates. Sometimes these pictures wouldn't be identical. They may be one of a retake and one of the regular picture day. So you'd have to choose which one you want to use. So since I'm going to make some corrections here, I'm going to go ahead and go over to my flow panel and I'm going to reset it. And that takes the kids out of there. and it saves it automatically. Now I'm going to go back to my image library, go back to my portrait category I'm working on, and I want Mrs. Smith to be the teacher. So if you click on the little information button and you go here to details, you're going to choose if how she goes onto the page. And they've changed this a little bit. So, oh, here we go. Student, we're going to use the portrait, but we're going to make her a teacher. And then I'm going to mark done. So now she won't go to the beginning automatically, but when she goes to the page, on the page, she will. And then I'm going to decide here which picture I wanted to use. And I'm going to pretend that this is the one I don't want to use. So you'll go to the details, and under use portrait, we're going to don't use portrait. It's always a good thing to mark it as do not use. It's not going to go on the page that way, but if you found out later that the parent wanted to use the other picture, you can always go in here and mark this one do not use and mark this one to use. So that way you don't delete it out of the program and don't have to have it re-uploaded or try to find it again. So once I've done that, I'm going to go back here to my new page designer, and I'm not going to change my template any. Now, if I had added students to it, I would have to double click on this flow panel, and when you do that, you get the little eyeballs that are grayed out, and you can turn them back on and those boxes are active again. So when you do that, you'll save it. And you can also do that before you decide maybe you want your left side, your left class pages to have the first few image boxes blank. So you can turn those off. Now when you go to flow, it's going to skip those boxes. So I've got my Smith kindergarten. I've got 31 images now because we told one not to use it. Want to start on page 6 and stop on page 6, and I'll click flow. And there's my kids on the page. Now these boxes here, they didn't, the little girl didn't flow all the way over here because I didn't have enough of them turned off, but you guys get the gist here, how those work. Now, if I got all finished with my book and you notice there were red X's over here on the names, that means that the names were too long for that particular area. And that happens quite a bit when you have images underneath the picture or names underneath the pictures. Some of the names are too long for the text box. So what you'll need to do is click on the flow panel on the page, go here to your flow options, and it's going to ask you if you want to expand it. And what that does, you'll click understand and expand. What that does is it separates everything all into their own text boxes and image boxes. So let's say maybe you wanted to move that one a little bit more, or you wanted to get designy here and have them staggered. You could do that. But if you had a red X in your text box, you would just need to adjust the text box either longer or wider so that the name will all show and your red X will go away. And it's going to give you that warning when you do your final pre-flight uh, preview when you go down through your pages when you submit. So also, if you say you wanted to just didn't want that picture there, you could just delete it, and then the name would stay here, and you could either leave it blank or put a no photo in there or something like that. Okay, I think I've covered all the steps to flowing and reflowing. If you have any questions, um, you can type them over here in the chat box. Does it automatically resize if you reduce the number of columns and rows, or do you have to manually resize? Whenever you add a flow panel to the page, you will need to um, adjust your image boxes the size that where you can accommodate another row or another column. So no, they do not automatically adjust. But let me see, just I'm not sure. But if you put that on there and you keep the automatic checked, let's see what it does. No, it does not add columns or rows. And it actually unchecks that. Okay. Do we have any other questions? If our school's using Jostens for a photographer, will I need to send a link or will the pictures automatically upload for me? I'm not sure about that. I would say that if you sent your rep, your customer rep, a quick email and just say, hey, Jostens was here and they took our photographs, you might see if they're ready or please upload them when they are ready. And that way we know that step's taken care of, that they've been there and taken pictures.
I have a question.
Okay,
Um, I got to the part, I just logged in, and I was able to put the boxes, right? Can I manually put each picture if I have it in file?
if you are not
Insert it instead of doing the full thing?
if you're not using the flow option, but you want to
Mm-hmm.
have them on there in a grid formation, then you can always come
Right.
in here and add the flow panel to the page, and then
And then just,
adjust your columns and your rows, and then you can always go up here to expand in the flow options, and you can go ahead and expand that, and then it breaks them all loose. And if you'll notice the icon changed in the center, it's a little landscape icon. So then it's strictly click and drag, and then you'll have to type the name underneath each picture.
okay, great. Thanks a lot.
Uh-huh. That works well with baby pictures. If you have baby pictures and you're not going to flow them onto the page, but you want a uniform grid on there, you can drag one of those flow panels over and expand it. There's also some other options that when you get a flow panel on the page, if you wanted rounded corners, you can go here and you can change the shape of the image boxes even. Um, Up here, you could put a stroke on on the images and change the color. So there's also different things you can do once you get a flow panel on the page. But I would get your flow panel or get your page as close to what you want each class page to look like and save them as a template. And then you're just clicking and dragging them over there and you're ready to flow your pictures. When you're choosing a flow panel, you do want to choose a flow panel that will accommodate your largest class. And that way your students are all the same size throughout the book in your portraits. So that's kind of an important thing too. Okay, doesn't look like we have any more questions. So thank you for joining me this afternoon. I hope showing you how to organize your class portraits will save you time when creating your class pages. Please email or call tech support if you need further assistance. We will be happy to walk through the organizing and flowing process. Thanks, everybody.